Maybe not. Okay. Just in the last week, we've been kind of kicking around what happens as we move toward that last few games of the season, the regular season, that is. We were talking about the upcoming rivalry between Marion and Mullins as Marion visited Mullins to face them for the second time this year. We also talked about the looming matchup between Mullins, or rematch between Mullins and Atlantic Collegiate Academy, who led the conference. We also talked about, could Marion make the playoff, and then in this final week, could they improve their seeding as the tournament approached? They kind of did. They had a big win this week at Lake City, a win that a lot of people probably didn't expect. Good morning, Mr. David Jenwright. How are you? I hope you did okay last week, that conversation we had. We'll leave it at that. But David and I were talking about who's going to win the Super Bowl. And the Eagles did win the Super Bowl, by the way. They are the Super Bowl champs. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles. I said it would be a close game last week. It wasn't. It was not even near a close game, as they ran roughshod over the Kansas City team. I might get back to that later today, but Super Bowl champs, Philadelphia Eagles. Marion had to go on the road and beat a team that had just beaten them a week before in Lake City. In Lake City, meaning that's who they played. And Lake City was in Marion week before last, and they came away with a big win. A very disappointing loss for Marion. But they got back last Thursday night, was it Wednesday night? And they beat Lake City to really get the fourth spot in the conference, where they were kind of looked like they were shooed in for fifth. So congratulations to them for that. But now everything has been settled. All the seedings have been settled. Well, I think all the seedings have been settled. But for certainly, Marion and Mullins seedings have been settled. And they're both going to go on the road. That's not what you ideally want. That's not what you fight for all year, is to be on the road in the first game of the tournament. Now, I think Marion people are more understanding of this and more accepting of Marion's fate than maybe Mullins folks might be, because Mullins have been flying high all year, near or top the conference. And I'm sure visions of 2 or 3 home games were dancing in everybody's head in Mullins. I figure they'd get second place at least, and they'd get a couple of home games. That didn't happen. They got third place, and now they too, like Marion, has to go on the road. Let's take a quick look at what Mullins has done. I mean, they're still ranked number 4 in Class 2A. That's because of the outstanding season they had. But it's still hard when you are being sent on the road, being ranked so high. But it all comes down to the conference. And right now, the Auks are, once you're in the playoffs, you're in. And it's just up to you from now on. I mean, nobody can say who's going to win what game, and it doesn't matter if you're playing it on the road. Ultimately, you still got to win. You still got to play. And I was told that that Mullins will play at Lake Marion. And there's some history there, of course. Lake Marion and Mullins have tangled in the past. Lake Marion and Marion have tangled in the past. But this time it's Mullins going to Santee. It's a long way. I know I still got a bunch of cousins down there. My dad's people still live in Santee, Vance area. I remember when Mullins played, when Marion played against Lake Marion several years ago. I had several cousins on the team. Even back when they were Holly Hill Roberts, there were several cousins I had on the team even then. But this is where we are now. And Marion, for their efforts, are going to go to Timberland. And Timberland is, I could say it's on the outskirts of St. Stephen, but St. Stephen's is an outpost itself. I hope nobody heard that down in St. Stephen. Might want to get me if I go down there. But Timberland, outside of St. Stephen's, I don't know how many miles it is, but it seems like 100. And what makes that feel even crazier is it's way back in the woods. Naeem and I took a trip down there several years ago to watch Mullins play against them with Trevor Dantzler and Chris Harley and that whole crowd. And there's nothing back there but woods. So prepare yourself if you are going to make the trip because there's no houses or anything back there. It's just deep forest, kind of like the Francis Marion Forest in a way, if you are familiar with that going through. But that's where the two will end up this week as they start their playoff journey. And good luck to both. Now, Mullins, for their part, this is the way their season, their regular season ended. Play the okay. So Mullins at 17-5, 8-4 in the conference, and that was good for third place. They are. Let's look at the reading here. Yeah, I was thinking Mullins more for second place. I didn't realize that that Manning was gonna, play as important a factor as they have. And Lake City, too. Lake City kind of threw a wrench in things. I think that Lake City loss by Mullins might have been the difference between them being where they are right now and a game or so better. They did get the revenge on Lake City, but that loss down there was devastating. But looking at the conference, 11-1 is Atlantic Collegiate Academy. They are the conference champs. They finished the record with an overall 19-3 mark. Manning was second. Congratulations to Coach Sean Johnson. He is one of ours. 9-3 in the conference, 2 games back of Atlantic Collegiate Academy. Good morning, Ms. Doris Davis. Matthew Baker, my little point guard. What's going on, buddy? Manning is 16-5 overall. Mullins 8-4 in the conference, 17-5 overall. Marion actually finished behind Mullins in 4th place. And everyone was kind of thinking, after the way the last couple of weeks have been going, they were thinking, okay, Marion could probably end up 5th. And turns out the win over Lake City got them into a 6-6 tie with Lake City. But I think that Marion probably did better with the points, and I think that's why they have them listed as the fourth place team in the conference. Marion's had an up and down year at 12-14, but they've come on lately. Saved the game against Mullins last week. That was a loss that was in the middle of a nice run that they've had over the last couple of weeks of the season. So as I said, Mullins goes to Lake Marion, and Marion goes to Timberland. Let's see what we got here. Let's go back and do a full recap on each. And we're very proud of all you kids out there that played. I mean, you guys played hard this year. You put the effort in, and you're rewarded with a playoff berth, which is good. Let's see what we got. All right. Good morning, Ms. Carter. How are you? Now, Atlantic Collegiate. Let me jump over here to the state rankings real quick. Don't ask me why. I'm not going to get anything on this computer, to tell you the truth. And this is the overall rankings right now in South Carolina. And it's very interesting, the teams that they have up there. I mean, yeah, Oceanside has been near or at the top all year. They're number one right now. They're followed by Greenville. Hey, Matt, have you seen Greenville? What do you know about them? Apparently, they're pretty good. I remember when they won state several years ago. They're number 2. James F. Burns, the number 3 ranked team. And then you have Lancaster. North Augusta was a team that was the number 1 ranked overall team in the state for most of the year. But they seem to have fallen off. But when I look at their record, they're still 22-1. So, Fort Mill is number 6. Dorman is 7. Ridgeview is 8. The usual pretenders, the usual contenders. Indian Land is number 9, followed by Augusta Christian, Conway, Wren, Goose Creek, Riverside, Crestwood. Blythewood is 16. Atlantic Collegiate, the team that leads this conference, is number 17. And then you have Great Collegiate, Dutch Fork, Hammond, River Bluff is 21, West Side is 22, Somerville is 23, Keenan is 24, and Greer is the 25th ranked team in the whole state this week. I wanted to talk a little bit about Mullins girls because they are to be congratulated. They beat Marion for the first time in 5 years last Saturday night in Mullins. Now, everybody had a feeling that this could be the year that Mullins actually gets a win against Marion. I felt that way coming in. Marion handled them pretty easy in the first game, but you saw signs there. Mullins girls have really come along, and I might have mentioned them. I know I mentioned it several times on the program this week, how they have managed to kind of turn their fortunes around. And they find themselves right. Let me take a look at where they are because they are in the playoff. Is Mullins. And congratulations to them on making the playoff. Now, let's take a look at the schedule in Region 7A. By the way, Marion girls are the only basketball team in the county with a home game. They're the only ones. Mullins girls are on the road. Marion girls are home. Mullins boys are on the road. Marion boys are on the road. So I think someone told me that Marion is going to play against Woodland. I don't know who Mullins girls are going to play against. Anybody out there know? I might have been told that too, but I forgot. So we have Lake City won the conference at 10-2. Excuse me. They were followed by Marion at 9-3. Marion went 16-8 overall. Lake City went 14-7. We got to see Lake City here about 2 weeks ago, and they're really good. And we knew they were going to be. Kingstree at 8-4. They went 20-5 overall. Atlantic Collegiate Academy 7-5. Mullins girls at 4-8, and they went 7-8 overall. But as I said, that makes them the 1, 2, 3. That makes them the 5th place team and gives them a shot for a playoff road game. East Clarendon and Manning rounded out the bottom of the conference at 3-9, and Manning was at 1-11. East Clarendon 5-14 overall. Manning 5-18. So it wasn't a very good year for either one of those teams. It was a good year for I wouldn't say a great year for Marion, but a good year for Lady Swamp Foxes as they finished 2nd in the conference, and I think an exceptional year for Mullins considering where they were just 2 or 3 years ago. They couldn't win a game, but now. And you got people out here right now who are thinking Mullins is probably going to run things around here the next year, or maybe the next 3 years. They're coming. They have the pieces in place, a lot of young talent. So people are thinking maybe Mullins takes control of this conference and rules it for the next couple of years. But we're going to see what happens. So this week I went over to Dillon to see a game, just to see the girls' game. It was after work, and my little friend Mariah Johnson over there, I told her mom that I was going to come see her play. So I went over and watched her play. And I've seen her play several times before, just not lately. Let me tell you, she had the best game. I mean, she had the most outstanding game I've ever seen her play. I asked her mom how many points she had in the game, and her mom told me she had 18. Now, as far as the rest of the stats go, I can kind of guesstimate what they were with me just watching the game. Now, let's talk about assists. I think in my mind about how many assists that I think she got. Well, I'd say she had upwards of 6 or 7. I can give you the same number for steals because she was ripping people off left and right. Her defense was tight. She was throwing up. She put up a shot, and I asked her about this. I said, she threw up a shot. She wasn't even looking at the basket. She was under the hoop. Her back turned to the basket. She got the rebound, and she flipped it up, and it went in. Wow. It went in. So she was saying she don't know what she was doing there. It wasn't something that she had planned, but I guess it wasn't. But they ended up winning the game big, and they are a number 1 seed. They are unbeaten in their conference. They are the conference champs. And chances are, they're going to have some home games. It's just interesting to see what's going to happen in this next week as we march toward possibly ending up in Florence at the Civic Center for some of the local teams here. And that's the whole thing. The cry is get to Florence. Now, needless to say, it's going to be difficult getting there, considering at least both boys team and the Mullins girls team, they got to play on the road from the very beginning. This takes me back to another time. Takes me back to the year 1995. And that was the year that Mullins made that incredible run before bowing out in the lower state final. Excuse me. But Mullins had a really rough time at the end of that season. A conference that included Marion, that included Myrtle Beach, that included Darlington. I want to say that included Manning, Lake City too, and King Street. The conference was brutal that year. And Mullins stubbed their toe after opening the season, I think, at 17-0 to start the season. But they got into a little thing there. Okay, I need to know that, Anthony. Who is ladder playing, boys and girls? Help me out here, buddy. So, as I said, Mullins lost a tough home game to Darlington, a team that included Orlando Hudson, the Rouse kid, Brandon Rouse, Brian Scott. Great team they had. So they came in here and they beat Mullins. Now, which really cemented Mullins' place as a first-round road warrior. So Mullins had to go to C.A. Johnson on that first night. And they won that game. I think Curtis Williams had a big hand, over 30, almost 40 points in that game. So now they won that game. Now they got to come back for a second-round game against, guess who? Darlington. So we goes to Darlington. Hostile place. Oh, my goodness. I mean, truthfully, the two times that I went to Darlington to see Marion and Mullins play against them, the hostility level there, I'm telling you, you want to watch your back when you left there that night. That's how hostile it was. But, so Mullins goes back to Darlington and beats Darlington in the second round game. Okay? Now, that set up a third round contest against none other than NBA star Jermaine O'Neal and the vaunted Shamrocks of Eau Claire. And when you walked in the gym, it was so packed. I mean, there wasn't a seat to be had there. So I just took my place on the sideline to watch the game. Well, Mullins won that game. They won the third game of the playoffs on the road. So at this point, everyone is thinking, okay, Mullins has got this. They're going to win state this year. Duane Flazier, John Johnson, Ryan White, Alex White, Curtis Williams, Cedric Smith. I mean, it looked all set up from there that Mullins was going to win. There was one more hurdle, and that was the Holly Hill Roberts Bulldogs. That was the team that they had to beat. And that game was scheduled to be played on the campus of South Carolina State University. 134 miles from here. I traveled that day with my son, who was just 4. I took him on my order ride too. I went and got him for the daycare and put him in the car with me and took him down there. So we traveled down to Orangeburg. And for the first half, looks like Mullins was going to win this thing going away. Now, the principal of the school was a good friend of mine, and we played basketball together as children after church on Sunday. He was the principal there. So I'm talking stuff at halftime, and I'm telling him, hey, buddy, this thing is over. He was like, Mike, it's not over. He doesn't let them quit. He never lets them quit. Turns out that who he was talking about was none other than legendary coach Willie Thomas. So I didn't know who Willie Thomas was at that moment. But I know that team did not quit. And the second half, they stepped up the defensive pressure. Now, let's think about one thing for a second. And this is the reason I feel that Mullins lost this game to this day. And this is going to be the 30th anniversary coming up next year. A couple of weeks before the season ended, John Johnson, their point guard, broke his wrist. So now Cedric Smith, who's a swing man, can run some point. Curtis Williams could do the same. Now they had to do it more in that game against Holly Hill Roberts. the pressure in the backcourt made it very difficult for them to get the ball up the court. And when they did get it up, they swarmed. Miko, how about the Eagles? They swarmed on Dewani Flasher. They triple teamed the guy at times. And it was very difficult for him to get a shot off. So it was a grind in the second half. So Mullins is still holding a 1-point lead. No, it was a 2-point lead with time running down. Holly Hill was on their last possession. But that turned out to be the possession that was Mullins' doom. Because this kid, and I don't remember his name, but he came up the right side with time running down. And he put the shot up. As the horn expired, as I recall, it went in. A 3-point shot. Final score. Holly Hill Roberts 44. Mullins 43. That was a long ride home. A very long ride home. Big John Nichols, what's going on, buddy? How's everything going today? Carl Brantley, good morning. Sean Bronson, what's going on, my friend? Terrence Scott and Maria Staggers Daniels. Welcome everyone to the program today. So what do you hope for? What teams fans are most excited or most confident right now in what their team's potential is headed down this playoff road? If I was Mullins and Marion, I'd feel pretty decent right now. When I saw Mullins' team earlier in the season, there's no doubt in my mind that they have everything they need to be a state championship or to make a state championship run this year. I still think they can do that. Marion has improved through the season. They were a little bit shaky early. I think one of the keys to Marion going far in this tournament is Jaden Gerald. I hadn't mentioned him this year. But he's one of the best players around and very talented. He's had his struggles this year. But there's really two guys on Marion's team that can basically get their own shot when they want to. And that's Jaden and that's Charles White. You basically got two guys who you must have points from every night if you're going to have a chance to win. So, good luck to Marion. Good luck to Mullins. It'd be nice if you guys would meet each other down the road, like Mullins girls and Marion girls did in the lower state. But anyway, Taylor says I've got to get out of here now. And I really enjoyed being here with you today. And I'll be back next week with more recapping the first round of the tournament. So, it's a fun time, y'all. Let's get ready. And I know everybody's going to be riding because all the teams are playing somewhere else. So we will go out there. Some of us will be in Lake Marion and Santee, and others will be in Timberland, St. Stephen. So, but either way, we got to support the kids, and we always do. I'll be back next week with more. Have a wonderful, safe week, and happy Valentine's Day to all the lovers out there. Peace. I'm out.
All right, man, Mike.
Oh, Lordy.
You made it through, man.
I did.
Yeah, it ain't hard.
I ain't talking about everything I wanted to talk about. No, I never do.
Oh, yeah. I get that way.
I write a bunch of stuff down. What it is, as long as I got more stuff to talk about,
Mm-hmm.
so that I don't run out of things to talk about before the 30 minutes is up.
Right.
Yeah.
Do a good job, man.
Got a plan.
You hanging in there with it, man.